spinning. And we are live once again. This will probably be our last one for the event because everyone's starting to do a soft tear down here. But Orange County Convention Center, Orlando, Florida, RoofCon 5, amazing event. It has been amazing, and I got my best friend, one of many, not many, but I can count my best friends probably on one hand here in Cory over the past several weeks, couple past months here. Cory, Berrier, man, how the hell are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, dude. I'm glad to be back on.
Yes, no doubt. Now I'm glad to have you back on, especially here at RoofCon, where the energy has been just off the chain. I mean, the side conversations, the sidebar conferences that I had with people, I've gotten probably more out of the conversations that I had with people that just walked into the booth. Somehow we got to figure out a way to capture all of that. That way we can like take that home and just re-listen and revisit all of that, not just because of the content, but so I can relearn and listen to the nuggets, the diamonds that have been raining here over and over and over and over again. And people I don't know, made new relationships, strengthened old relationships. I mean, it's just been good. How's this been treating you?
Dude, it's been amazing. Last year was my first year here. And I think the difference this year from last year, I love how everything's condensed.
Mm-hmm.
I think the breakouts were better this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think the speakers were better.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed, I have enjoyed the people. I think I've enjoyed the conversations, as you said, the side conversations. Have been way more impactful, I feel like, this year.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of recovery conversations. I had an opportunity to speak to a kid that's not, it's not sober.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see that maybe it made an impact in his life. And, for me, people, you and me both, those conversations are important.
Mm-hmm. They are.
Yeah.
That's our lifeblood.
100%.
You know what I mean? We got to give away what has been so freely given to us. It's funny you mentioned that because we had the opportunity to go to a meeting this morning, and this gentleman walked in late and sits down, and he's a mess. Didn't know where he was going to sit. Phone rings during the middle of the meeting. Right, just total mess. We can relate to this.
Yeah.
And sitting here tells us a little bit of how his evening went the night before, and it's like, I got really drunk. I feel like shit. I'm gonna feel like shit, kicking the shit out of myself, and that I need to hear that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Saying, talking about the lifeblood, like I need to not forget first and foremost where I come from, bum. Right. Secondly, it has to stay green, and by me, like, there's no judgment whatsoever in that. Like, thank you for showing up because I needed you probably more than you need me.
Right.
Yeah, so I get it, and it's so funny how that veers its head to us in those moments of like, yep, because we get moving, things are moving fast, we're successful, right? And sometimes we tend to put things in front of what should not be, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I don't want to get too far in the weeds of that, but anytime I've ever put anything in front of my recovery, I tend to lose it. Right. So coming to events like this and Erico hosting those little events, right?
Yeah.
For us to go to is game changer for us. Jana and I originally met that organization, Roofers in Recovery, at a Wind and Storm conference. It was our first conference. And it was life changing for us. Like, we're at a convention. There's other recovering people here. And oh my God, I love roofing again. Like, this is great. You know what I mean? And it made us feel like we're not alone on both levels, right? And in the roofing industry, entrepreneurship, the struggles, and then on the recovery side of things, I thought, man, this just does not get any better than this.
Yeah, dude, because you think about, I don't know how many outside of industry events you go to, but I actually go to several. Mm-hmm. And I've never been to one where there's been a recovery meeting ever. Mm-hmm. But let's go back for a quick second. The guy's story this morning, that was impactful to hear. Mm-hmm. After that, I spoke to someone else here at the convention. It doesn't matter who it was, and he was talking about his night last night. Total train wreck. You know, essentially made a total ass out of himself.
Yeah.
And this was his words, not mine. And the amount of struggle the next day, I'm like, I mean, it really made me be thankful because I've been that guy. I've been the guy who woke up the next morning and I'm like, I cannot believe I made that decision, whatever it was. And it really kind of brought things home. The other thing I want to say about Eric O, did you sit in on his talk this morning?
I missed it.
Dude, it was probably the best one I got to sit in on. And the reason, he took a ball of yarn. He didn't film it. He took a ball of yarn and he asked a question, who can relate to his story? And I stood up. He said, stand up if you can relate to the story. I stood up. He threw the ball of yarn. And then he asked who could relate to the story that I shared. And we threw the ball of yarn. And by the end of it, we were all connected. And it was really cool because it makes you realize we're all the same. Like, and that wasn't a recovery room, but there were so many people in there that had been touched by the struggles of drugs and alcohol. So it was such a good talk.
Yeah. He told me it was going to be good. And I said, I need to bounce between you and Dylan's. He's like, you're not really going to necessarily be able to bounce into mine and hang out. And he didn't go into too much detail on it, but I was like, okay. So I didn't bother going over there, but I wish I would have or could have had the time to do that. But man, hopefully it was recorded.
It was not.
Really?
No.
They turned the cameras off.
Specifically.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure hopefully I'll be able to experience that breakout or that whatever that breakout, hopefully someday.
I'm sure he'll do it again.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I'm going to take it and use it at it for sure.
That good, huh?
It was because everybody's engaged. Like from a speaker standpoint, he had the whole audience engaged in an emotional activity. You know, we stood up and I talked about when I was fat as a kid and got made fun of. I was jumping up and down on the diving board and I thought these girls liked me and they just wanted to see my boobs bounce up and down. And that was uncomfortable. I felt, self-conscious, conscious. I struggle with that word sometimes. Anyway, really takes a hit on your self-esteem. And it just built off of that. And it was really cool. It felt almost like, felt like a meeting. Yeah. Almost. Yeah. To be honest.
No, that's great. I had a similar experience at my first Revolt retreat. And somebody actually even made the comment, if I wanted to go to a recovery meeting, I would have went to one. I didn't realize that this was going to be, and I'm jiving the whole time, like the way, and it's not, I don't think it was intentionally designed to be like that, but it's just the fellowshipping, the camaraderie, the similar experiences because of the vulnerability. People were getting vulnerable, transparent, sharing their experiences. So I got to experience that at my first Revolt retreat. That's what hooked me, right? It had nothing to do about revenue, the size of your company,
right?
Nothing like that. It was about being around like-minded people, right? Striving for the same goal, right? Mostly personal development, right? That's because that's where it starts. It starts here, right there, and then here, right, then there, right? Maybe in a little bit different order, but that's what I need, to be around guys like Erico that's doing super cool ass shit like that.
Yeah.
I need to be around the Hunter Blues, the Diego Dantes, the William Renkers, the Cory Berriers of the world. So, because I know I can be vulnerable with you.
Yeah.
Right. I know I can share my stuff with you. Like, hey man, I'm not feeling so good today. And when I say that, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why I said what I said earlier when we went live, when I held my hand up of, there's only in your life, you'll only have so many that you can consider best friends.
Yeah.
Right. You got acquaintances, right? But you're definitely on that in that 5, right? Because of the conversations and the vulnerability that you've shown me, right? Um, and more importantly, the conversations, the impactful conversations and advice that you've given me, and back and forth. And I think, where I don't know what day it was, but you called me one day and I was at the office and we both apologized to each other for not getting back to each other soon enough, right? Because we're both cut from the same cloth, maybe a little bit of insecurity. I don't want Cory to not like me, and I don't want Ty not to like, yeah, kind of thing. And they're like, no, it's good, dude. I know you're busy. And we were both like, man, I just had a bad day.
Yeah.
It was just a bad day. I couldn't get back to you. And it was funny because I think we both laughed because we were both, the day that we should have called each other was the day that we were having a bad day.
That's right.
That's when we need each other the most.
Right. Yeah, but it made me feel good, honestly, that you had the same day I had. Well, it didn't make me feel good. Neither one of us didn't pick up the phone, but we both got jammed up. We just got jammed up. And those days happen. Fewer than more times they happen now. But man, when you're first getting started, those days are going to happen a lot.
Oh yeah.
And some days, like I shared this morning, like the amount of fear and the worry and the stress and all the thoughts that come into your brain, lots of them are not even true, but they'll paralyze you.
Oh yeah.
They will. They'll paralyze you. And the only way to get out of that is to call you and say, hey, I'm paralyzed. Like, and you'll get it.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And we talked through it.
That's right.
And to come to find out, it was fear. Probably chances were some form of fear. Right. And then we laugh with each other, not at each other, with each other, because like, yep, been there, did that. This is how I got through it. You know, you're not alone. And I think that's what it is feeling a part of something, you know, trying to fill that God-shaped void that I've tried to fill all my life, my entire life, whether it was, you know, money, women, cars, motorcycles, bicycles, back when I was a kid, right? Goes and up into my adulthood. I was trying to fill this God-shaped void with all of this instant gratification. I didn't know what delayed gratification was. I didn't know that I had to put the work in, right? Whether it's physically, right? Physical health, right? That delayed gratification, right? I didn't know if I continue to keep working hard towards a goal, that something good is going to happen, right? I needed that instant gratification, right? Retail therapy, dating somebody new, whatever the case was. Buy a car, clothes, shoes. I still have a shoe fetish, so don't knock me for that. My closet's full of sneakers and stuff. But I worked hard for that. Yeah, right. I think it's sneakers are sneakers. Not like I'm buying boats. I'm not buying new cars. My garage isn't filled with 10 cars or anything like that. Nothing to knock the car guys. And somebody said this here actually is my Porsche. This is my Lamborghini. Most contractors are buying boats, Lamborghinis and stuff like that. This is it. And at least it's impactful. But anyhow, I don't know where I was going with that, but
you just fill a void with whatever, it could be sugar. It could be caffeine. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
And figuring out when to cut those things off and say, well, okay, maybe I'm overdoing this. There's always that point. And when you're wearing something out, when you're doing something too much, whether it's that you're gaining weight or whether it's that you're spending too much on shoes, whatever it is. We're addictive people.
Oh, yeah.
We get addicted to a lot of things. We have addictive personalities.
Absolutely.
But you got to be aware of that going through everyday life. And if not, it's a good chance you're going to slip into whatever addiction it is that day or that week or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. No, we gotta be conscious. What do they call that? That's constant vigilance.
Yeah.
Constant vigilance is the price of whatever you want to call it. My sobriety.
Sure.
And I have to be aware of what's going on around me, but more importantly, I have to be aware of what's going on inside of me. And how I do that is there's a certain regimen of things I have to do. Right. And I have my regimen. I've talked about it several times this weekend about my mornings, how I start my mornings out with my wins. I start stacking wins. Right. But I have to be with my people too, 2-3 days a week. Yeah. I have certain days of the week that I go see my people. right? Because that's where I get my medicine. That's where I get right. That's where I can mingle with the earthlings, right? Where I go in there, I get right. I can go out and then I can have patience, love, and tolerance, go home, treat my family right. You know what I mean? Little love, patience, and tolerance there. Because sometimes that's the hardest place to practice these principles is in our home life. It's so much easier for me to go out and treat a stranger good or those that I work with good. But then to get home, it's kind of like they get the brunt of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the crumbs.
Right.
By the time I get home, they get the crumbs, they get the fumes. I'm already, because I poured into everybody else. I was nice to everybody else. I made sure everything was lined up for everybody else. And then I get home and it's like, I don't feel like being bothered. You're annoying me. Get away from me. I don't have time for this. You know what I mean? Why isn't dinner ready? You know what I mean? The wife's not wifing right. The kids aren't kidding right. Well, none of that's changed. What changes is my perspective of things. And when I'm not getting my medicine and doing the things that I need to do for my spiritual health, my mental health is huge. That's a hot topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about anymore. And this is basically what I'm talking about is my mental health. Right. I need to know where I can go to talk to people when I'm not feeling good. Right.
Yeah.
Because I can fall into a dark place quick, low self-esteem, depression, most of it's situational. Right.
Right.
My biggest enemy today is the 6 inches between my ears.
Yeah.
And I need you to know that.
Yeah.
And you know that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because we can create all kinds of shit. Things that are ridiculous. Like if some people were inside of my head at certain times, they wouldn't know what to do. They'd think I was completely crazy, which I still may be. But yeah, dude, it's a madhouse up there sometimes.
Thank God we don't get locked up for what we think.
God, isn't that the truth? And I'll tell you to that point, like you don't have to believe everything you think either. And that's something that I have to think about often because sometimes I will, maybe it's my perception of a situation. Like maybe my perception that day, I don't recall, but could have been, well, maybe he just doesn't want to talk to me today, right? That could have been my perception. And I could have went off on down a rabbit hole with that, right? And then said the next day, well, I just want to answer the call then, since he didn't answer. And I'm sure that's happened in the past. Yeah. Resentment.
Yeah, of course.
Can't have it.
No.
So what's interesting is, I can't remember which chapter it is in the book, but it talks about, it's to the wives. That's exactly what it is. How, when a wife has gone through what my wife never went through it because I've never drank in front of my wife, but I can imagine I was a dry drunk. So she has experienced it. I guess that the truth is she has experienced it. Now that I sit here and think about it, but for her to be patient while I go pour into other people, while I'm going to, a recovery meeting every single night of the week. And sometimes afterwards I go early. That takes patience. Yeah. I don't know if I would have that much patience, but it's a lot to ask. And so when we talk about giving breadcrumbs at the end of the day, you're right. And sometimes they just kind of have to roll with that. Yeah. And really kind of support it to a degree.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. But trying not to do that is as best as I possibly can. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm going to have bad days, and that's where love and patience and tolerance for each other come into play. And that's why we must practice that, because we have to remember what we have put them through, our loved ones.
Right.
You know what I mean? And have some, not to beat ourselves up too much over it, because we're not perfect, and neither are they. But when they make mistakes, how are we reacting?
Right.
Are we responding the way that they responded to us? Usually with patience, love, and tolerance. But here I'm going off the chain because dinner's not ready, or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
Right. But no, this is, we could talk about this for hours.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something else you wanted to talk to me about. Let's shift gears.
We'll shift gears. Yes, for sure. So do me a favor, pick up that phone. All right. And I told you the passcode. Yep. And what I'm about to show you, you probably had an iPhone before there was applications on the iPhone, right? The iPhone was probably cool when it first came out, but when apps came out, entirely different ballgame.
Oh yeah.
So what you're looking at there is an industry specific Chat GPT.
Okay.
just for roofers.
Wow.
So what I want you to do is I want you to ask it a really challenging question. I want you to ask it anything that you can possibly think of that would be something that you would have to go look up. Something you'd have to find out, go to a website and look up, and let me know what it says.
Man, I need help from the audience. What's a really tough roofing question? Yeah, I got one. How do you figure out the pitch of a roof?
There you go. Perfect.
Was I supposed to talk into it?
Nope.
Okay.
But you could.
Oh, shit. And that's fast too. Okay. You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. It says here, to determine the pitch of a roof, you'll need to measure the rise and the run of the roof. Here's a simple method. 1, access the attic. If possible, go into the attic of the house to measure the pitch. 2, measure the rise. This is the vertical distance from the top of the rafter, the peak, to the bottom, the base. Place one end of the level against the bottom of the rafter, making sure it is perfectly horizontal. Measure 12 inches along the level from the rafter, marking this point. Number 3, measure the vertical distance, rise. From the 12-inch mark on your level, measure straight down to the rafter. This measurement is your rise. 4, calculate the pitch. Roof pitch is expressed as a ratio of the rise over a 12-inch run. So if the rise is 6 inches over a 12-inch run, you have a 612 pitch roof. That's badass, bro, because that's legit.
Yeah, totally
That's
legit.
100% legit.
So here's the difference. It's trained on a knowledge base for roofing specifically.
Okay.
And so that will most likely, by my calculations, should be the very first roofer chat GPT. Whenever the marketplace comes out, which is going to be a month or two. I highly doubt anybody else built it in the last 3 days, and that's what we've done. As soon as we found out this was available, I called my engineer, and he went to town. And we've built it for several industries. And so the reason I point this out is because roofing industry, the home services industry, period, as a whole, are so far behind when it comes to technology. And what I believe is this is going to advance our industry by decades if they know how to use it the right way. And I don't mean it's complicated. What I mean by use it the right way is by asking it honestly. You just ask it whatever question that you would normally ask it. It's no more complicated than that. And so by asking it, look, it will tell you. What did I ask it yesterday? He mentioned it earlier. He asked me about how to. I don't think it was something to do with insurance, I think, and decking. Yeah. I can't remember the question though, so it kind of messed me up.
Okay. Maybe it's saved in there.
It is saved in here. So I'll tell you the question, which, excuse me, by and large, I was shocked that it gave this information. Okay. So it said, the question was, that's the wrong one. I do have this, I promise.
Was it
So here's a great example. All right. So how many nails per sheet of OSB are required? And it spit out the answer. It's a long answer.
What is it?
The number of nails required for a sheet of OSB for roofing depends on several factors like the local building codes, the size of OSB sheets, and the spacing of the roof, trusses, or rafters. Typically, OSB sheets are nailed at 6-inch intervals along the edges and 12-inch intervals along the field, the interior of the area of the sheet. Assuming a standard 4x8 foot sheet of OSB and rafters or trusses spaced 24 inches apart. there's a lot.
That's legit. That's
Yeah.
legit.
So the rest of it's really not that much longer. Along 8-foot edge, you would place nails every 6 inches, totaling 16 nails. For interior, with rows every 12 inches across 8-foot length, you would have 7 rows, not counting edges, which are already nailed. Each row would have 5 nails, since the nails are placed 24 inches along the 4-foot width, totaling 35 nails.
That's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, because that's legit.
It's totally legit.
Yeah.
It will bring you, so it also accesses the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you wanted to know pricing, if you wanted to know financing,
Mm-hmm.
so you could ask, I can't remember. I'll give you this last one really quick.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting on how it's very industry specific. Where, like, if you're a roofer or a brand new salesperson, you have a question about insurance or financing, like you mentioned there briefly, or like I said, if you're trying to build something, like how do you determine the roof pitch and how that figured that out, the rise and the run. A lot of people never even heard of the rise and the run. And the other way that applies too is how do you build a set of steps? Well, you need to determine the rise and the run as well. You know what I mean? So a lot of people don't know that. They just think go out there and cut some stringers and throw them up. But by code, the rise and the run needs to meet code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I asked it about SOPs.
Mm-hmm.
It laid out every single SOP for residential roofing that you would ever need inside of a roofing company.
Wow.
And the steps to utilize it.
Huh.
That wasn't what I was going to tell you, but I can't find the one. But basically, I think we asked it if, for a 2,300 square foot house, how many, actually, I can't remember what it was. Long story short, it gave us the financing numbers. It totaled how much it was going to cost at what price per square.
Mm-hmm.
It broke it all down. And you can ask it GAF, Owens Corning, whatever.
Yeah. That's amazing. I was going to ask you something. I think I forgot because I was listening to what you were saying, because I find that very interesting. Like how much, I mean, the tool industry wide is going to be phenomenal, but how great that's going to be for somebody new. Like if a new hire comes in that hasn't came from the industry yet and is afraid to ask questions, like what is a piece of drip edge?
Right.
So I mean, it sounds dumb, but that's trivial to us, and it's not so trivial to them. Like if they sit in a meeting all day and we're talking about drip edge and underlayments, ice and water, and 12 inches inside the warm wall, like they might be like, what the hell is 12 inches inside the warm wall? Well, they can just simply ask what's it called? The
roofers. It's a
roofers AI.
Roofers Chat GPT.
Roofers Chat GPT. So, and you're getting ready to launch that when?
It's a roofing assistant, actually, is what he called it.
Okay.
It's so we have I have access to it. Anybody that reaches out can have access to it.
Nice.
It doesn't cost you a single dime.
Okay.
To use it.
Okay.
It could be a total game. Like I could if I wanted to start a roofing company from the ground up,
mm-hmm.
I could do it through this app.
That is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
I don't even want to hear that shit.
Right. Even though you give people access, right. As well as I do, they're not going to go do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like marketing, it'll answer any marketing question
we're
you
done
want.
Here.
Perfect.
Yeah. No, it's mind blowing this stuff. I mean, I'm thinking about how can we utilize this tool, especially for a training tool.
Oh, 100%.
For when somebody comes in, it's like, here, get download this app, the roofingassistant.com or whatever the hell it is. If you have any questions, if I went through this too quickly today, here's the app on the company phone. Now, if you quit, you can't use this. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
But no, I definitely, when we get off here, I want to talk more about that and gain access to that, just because not for my personal knowledge or gain, but more so for those that are newer coming into the industry and how much quicker we can speed them up to get them where we need them to be in a quicker, faster time frame to get them out knocking doors or running retail appointments or whatever the case might be.
So here's something crazy. And this is going to be, so imagine that a new door knocker, never knocked a door in their life, right? There's an immense amount of fear around knocking a door. So you can ask this software, how do I effectively knock the door and have a first conversation with a homeowner that hates my guts?
Yeah.
And it will tell you a really succinct way, non-threatening way, in perfect form of what you need to say to that homeowner.
Interesting.
It's wild.
And how long have you been working on this?
So I've been working with AI for about 12 months, but this in particular, we just built this. So because it just became available to build 3 days ago. Like I found out on the way down here.
Wow.
And the first people to market are going to win.
No, for sure.
And so the guy that works with me has been building these for the HVAC industry, the plumbing industry, solar industry, because we want to be the first apps
absolutely
in the marketplace.
Yeah.
So
wow.
It is wild.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, see, that's why you're one of my best friends.
There you go.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. I love that. I love that a lot. So anything else? We should probably get this wrapped up. I see the teams tearing stuff down and they probably want us to get out from back here so they can move some of this stuff out of the way to get the TVs and stuff down. We're going to try to pull down the larger, heavier stuff up above head here. But is there anything that you want to leave our viewers with?
I would say, look, I know the AI stuff seems scary for a lot of people, but if you don't get into this thing, there's a very good chance your business is going to be left behind because the people that are getting in are just going to take over the market, period. And there's really nothing to be nervous about, kind of like that fear, those thoughts we have in our head.
Yeah.
It's not Terminator.
Right.
It's just not.
Yeah.
And if you learn how to use this stuff, dude, you can blow your company up in a matter of no time.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No, my wheels already started to turn on that there a little bit. It's like, it's just a way more advanced Google, I guess.
Yeah, dude. How many ads did you see on that?
None.
0.
Yeah.
That's why that's one of the best things about it. Dude, since this thing came out, I've been using it instead of using Google, but didn't have access to the internet. The other thing is it's updated through April 2023 now, which was only updated to 2021 when it first came out.
Okay.
So that happened, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago.
Okay.
I could be off on that.
Yeah.
It's not been long.
No doubt.
So
awesome.
Very up to date.
Yeah. So Cory, what's the name of your podcast again? The
Successful Life Podcast.
Successful Life Podcast. I didn't want to screw that up. So Cory's got a podcast that's within the top 2% in the country. World in the world. Okay. That's why selfishly he's on our show to maybe bump our view or rate or whatever. Anyhow, like, love, subscribe, follow. I don't even think Gio has subscribed to our YouTube channel yet. I call bullshit. But anyhow, I'm just messing with you. You are an easy target. You're the only one I can see through the light here. But anyhow, like, love, subscribe. I should have been saying this all day.
Right.
And Cory's podcast, say that one more time.
Successful Life Podcast.
Successful Life. I should have that ingrained in my retina by now. Successful Life Podcast. Check him out. Subscribe to what platforms are you on?
On Facebook, LinkedIn. I am on Instagram, but I don't mess with it. But anywhere. Spell my name, you'll find it.
Yep. Check out Cory stuff. He's a freaking genius. He's changing the game for everybody with his AI stuff. So love you, buddy.
Love you, buddy.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We will check you out. Hopefully not till Wednesday because I'm losing my voice. You guys have a good one.